What does the president really have to offer Kim in terms of a deal here?
Well, there's a lot that he could offer. It's how much he's willing to give here. There's been some numerous differing statements out of the White House, while not contradictory necessarily, somewhat inconsistent. They have said in the past that their maximum pressure campaign will continue, but the president himself has suggested that, well, there could be some incrementalism here with Kim giving a little bit and the U.S. possibly giving a little as well. But they've not really set out a clear sort of set of goals for this meeting, and we've been whipsawed with expectations for what could take place from the initial euphoria out of the White House about the fact that it was happening at all, to it being canceled, and now it's being back on again. And it's only a day so far, and that doesn't leave a whole lot of time to give a back and forth on such a complicated issue.
All right. Senate Democrats want to weigh in. They want to have a voice in what's happening with that summit. They are asking for complete dismantlement, demanding it. But really, what kind of leverage do they have?
Well, they do have a little bit in that if the administration wants to lift sanctions, that will require congressional approval because some of these were congressionally imposed. And Democrats with a narrowly divided U.S. Senate have got leverage to block that from happening. They also will be needed if there is anything approaching a treaty down the road for their votes. What they're basically doing here is sort of raising the stakes for Trump. It's a bit of a political move, given that the U.S. midterm elections are coming up in less than 6 months. So they want to step in and say, you know, we're not to be ignored, and this is sort of setting a higher standard for Trump to meet.
Right, and the president as well, Joe, heading into a contentious G7 meeting just before his summit with Kim. Is the U.S. bringing anything to assuage allies at the summit?
Well, there seems to be a sense of exasperation from the statements from the other G7 members, including the host for the summit, Justin Trudeau of Canada. There seems to be everybody holding out for Trump to switch course again. You have to remember that there were going to be tariffs on aluminum and steel, then there were exceptions and new deadlines, and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin said that the trade war with China was not on, and then suddenly it was on again. So I think a lot of this is going to be what Trump and his aides actually bring to the table, setting some conditions, saying what it is that they want exactly from the EU, Canada, and Mexico on this, and they'll have to go from there. Right now, what they're bringing is a lot of angst on the part of our trading partners.
Right. I mean, especially after the G7 with Stephen Mnuchin, it seems like there's this kind of unanimous rebuke against the U.S. here, which you really haven't seen before. Joe, also another issue here with the president as well. What is he doing on his assertion that he can actually pardon himself?
Well, he's trying to lay out a case, and part of this also is a political move. He has been slowly moving his supporters toward opposition in all forms and fashions to the special counsel investigation. This is a question that is very much been just part of a background debate in law schools, and suddenly now it's here before us, or possibly before us. Republican senators today asked about it, almost unanimously backed away from even speculating about whether this was even possible. And it is some question about whether a person can serve as the judge in his own case. And if it is ever tested, it certainly is something that's going to be spend quite a few months in the court, all the way to the Supreme Court, should he choose to go that route. The White House insists that, oh, well, he doesn't really need to because he's done nothing wrong, but this is raising both a political and legal argument for the president.